Where do I even begin? This movie has such a crazy amount of topics to mention that it's really hard to find a starting point. So the only fair way to review the second film is by comparing it to the first. There have only ever been 2 movies about this topic, not including documentaries, and a lot of what was wrong with the second one can be seen done right in the first. Just be prepared for me to refer back to the first one a lot throughout this video. And buckle up, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Drumline 1. I love this movie.
You know, you're looking for a job this summer, you can give me a call too.
I got enough shit in my life. I'll just use this as toilet paper instead.
It has a lot of charm and is pretty well shot considering it's basically just another sports/competition type movie like Step Up or one of those football movies that isn't based on a true story. I will be fair though, the movie does have its flaws. Like the continuity errors, bad acting, a predictable story, and other things. However, this movie shines in comparison to its sequel, and that kinda makes me like it more. I still like rewatching it from time to time, usually for nostalgia alone, and yeah, I usually skip some of the parts I feel drag on for too long, but that's because I've seen it too many times and I know what's gonna happen. If you're watching this movie for the first time, I don't think you'll be disappointed. There's a lot to like about it. All in all, it's a solid movie, and I'd give it a check it out of 10. Now that we have that out of the way, we can move on to the meat of this video. Drumline 2. This movie is bad. Very, very bad.
As of right now, I'm known to you all as Big Brother Run Tell That.
Greetings, Big Brother Run Tell That.
You know why? Because when I play so good, it makes people want to what, Boston?
Run Tell That.
Run Tell That who?
Run Tell That, Big Brother Run Tell That.
Drumline: A New Beat is a boring, unfunny, and I hate using this word, cringy sequel. It's a TV movie made by and released on the channel VH1. Now, I wasn't expecting a film masterpiece, but the director, Billy Woodruff, has found moderate success before in his 2003 film Honey, starring Jessica Alba. The movie opened at number 2 in the US box office, earning this many in its opening weekend. Now you could say people only went to see it because of the fact that singer/actress, but mainly singer, Aaliyah was originally going to star, but died before filming began. And to the people who say that, I say, you're probably right, this movie sucks. So it's really no surprise why this movie is bad. In some ways, the movie hits the sweet spot of so bad that it's good, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it is, since the vast majority of it is just rage-inducing nonsense. Anyway, let's just start from the beginning. Right off the bat, they choose to distance themselves from the first by starting exactly how the first started, at graduation.
Remember the words of our dear Eleanor.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Drumline: A New Beat. So this is about the level of production value we're getting here, summed up in one little title card. Going back to the first movie real quick, the title card was the first thing you saw, and it was treated like an event. Not to mention how great the first shot of the film was. It gives us everything that we need to know about Devin without saying anything. There are some odd things about it, like why does he have his drumsticks in his hands right now? Like, I get he's going to be playing with the band soon, but he's about to walk the stage. Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh right, this. Forgot about that.
The experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. Congratulations, class of 2014.
Alright, so we're about 49 seconds into this, and already I need to address a problem that is prominent throughout this entire movie. The music is awful, and I'm not talking about the marching band stuff. It's just loud and in your face. I could barely hear what anyone was saying in some scenes.
You too, Mr. Murphy.
And it's not subtle either. Anyway, I'll go into that more later. So here's what's happening. Danny, our main character, played by the girl who played Storm in that bad X-Men movie, is graduating from her all-girl prep school when... Wait, what?
Daniel, I can't believe you wore those.
Mom, after 4 years of the same uniform, these shoes are my Declaration of Independence.
Don't the teachers see their students before the ceremony? Didn't she have to walk the stage and her parents should have seen her shoes then? Seriously, we are not far into this movie and it's already pissing me off. Anyway, after this terrible transition, we're treated to a nice location card in case you wanted to know this useless information. Did we really need to know where this scene was happening? I mean, it was already said in the text message from earlier. It's gonna take place in a park, we get it. But no, I guess it's necessary to know exactly which park and exactly which city. So Danny meets up with her cousin in the park for some surprise. Not quite sure why he wasn't at the ceremony, but okay.
Happy graduation, baby cuz.
So what's the 911? We can't be late for my party.
We all chipped in for the best.
Okay, so what is he talking about here? The sticks he just gave her? Because for those who don't know, both the sticks and the stick bag are fairly cheap, and they don't seem that special, or as he put it, the best. So did they chip in for these run-of-the-mill sticks? Or did they chip in for these guys to be here right now? Also, who's they? Are they? Is them they? Them? Are them they? I don't know, but now we can finally get to the drumming part of this movie. Yay. Oh, sweet Moses, no. Alright, so I'm guessing they hired real drummers to perform for this scene, and by that logic, they should be fine, but they still messed up. Everything sounds and looks pre-recorded, and that would be fine, but that just leads to problems like this, where he is obviously playing on his drum, but you can't hear him until he starts his solo. Like, how could you mess that up? These are tenor drums, by the way, which have a very different sound compared to snare drums, which is what these guys are playing. So this should have been something they caught immediately, especially if they're going to get a close-up of him playing. Those are not her hands. Oh, baby, those are not her hands! Also, it sounds like we're in an empty room even though we're outside. It seems like this girl was supposed to say thanks, or at least look at Danny after they took the picture, but she just ran off and then they added this dub to try and fix it. It's during some heavy exposition that we find out her parents are very stuck up and want Danny to go to a college to become a doctor, but Danny wants to go to college to be poor. I mean, a musician.
Is this car supposed to make me change my mind?
Also, I like how they went inside to have this conversation. Like there are more people inside the house than outside. Why not just make them go in the house so you guys can have this private conversation?
You guys have no faith in me, no faith that I can make a decision on my own, even if it's about my own life.
As long as we are funding that life, we will help you make those right decisions.
So we have this line to go off of.
I got a doctor colleague of mine, he's gonna let you shadow him at Emory.
But we actually don't know what Danny is planning on studying at A&T. And this really doesn't give us a chance to see from her parents' perspective. Maybe Spelman is the best place for Danny. Maybe she shouldn't go to A&T. But we don't know because they don't give us a chance to look from their perspective.
Then I'll accept the partial scholarship they offered me. And I'll get a job to cover my extra expenses, but I am going to A&T.
And so she does. But guess who else is going? Yeah, it's this guy from the first one. Remember this guy? In case you don't, we have exposition via podcast or radio. It's never really specified, but I think it's a podcast and a radio station.
Back in the day, Sean and future superstar Devin Miles were unstoppable. Yes, he's the Panthers' great black hope. Welcome home, Sean. Lego!
Man, I can't believe you guys rolling up here in my mama's old car when we could have been styling in that new ride.
I have to prove that I can do this on my own, which means no extras from my parents.
This seems like a conversation they should have had already, like maybe on the car ride over here, or before they left. I don't know, but they shouldn't be talking about it like it's the first time they brought it up.
That drum solo you posted on YouTube, it was hot.
Hey, I told you. I get much respect for being a section leader.
I'm pretty sure it has less to do with them knowing or caring that you're section leader, and more about the fact that girls find drummers and musicians in general attractive. I'm not being biased, I'm being truthful. So Danny wants to be the first female section leader, but her cousin's like,
I know, cuz. Just slow down, alright?
Now we get introduced to the worst character in the movie, Tasha. She's loud and annoying, but look out, because she also has a smart side.
You know, who the hell knows how many confirmed elements there are on the periodic table?
118 as of 2012. 98 of the 118 occur naturally.
What?
Her whole introduction's pretty lazy, honestly.
All you need to know is that I'm country, I'm clean, and I don't plan to kill you in your sleep.
Compared to the first movie, where by this point we've already been introduced to 3 of the supporting characters, as well as the opposing band.
Welcome to Band Dorm Orientation. I'm Bulldog, drum major.
I would like to point out this little reference to the first movie.
McKinley Hall is co-ed. Now that may sound like you can go buck wild, but I don't play that.
Buck Wild was the name of one of the drum majors in the first.
I'm Buck Wild. We are your drum majors.
It's a nice little touch, but who knows if it was intentional or not.
He's preaching like my pops on Sunday morning.
Oh, Danny, Leon, sixes. Leon, this is Danny, my roomie.
Wait, how long were they sitting like this with Leon in between them before she introduced him to Danny? Wouldn't it make more sense to have Leon on the end with Tasha in between so they can be like, oh, Danny knows Leon through Tasha? Having it this way makes no sense.
So, did we miss something?
Bullet points, no hooking up.
What are you talking about? You were here when he started talking. What could you have missed? Also, these instrument puns are painful.
Ladies, keep your music boxes closed. Fellas, keep your instruments in their cases, because I don't play that.
So now we're at a party where we're introduced to the second worst character in the movie, the token white guy.
Oh, I like the little junk in the trunk.
Oh, no, JFK didn't.
So I'm not gonna say the white guy from the first one had a clever nickname, but at least it made sense and it was pretty funny.
What's your name, Crab? Jason Floor, sir! AKA Affirmative Action! Brilliantly named by Big Brother Iron Man yesterday!
Now we're introduced to Armandi, and he's supposed to be what Sean was in the first movie, except he's sexist and has no redeeming qualities. He's just pretty much a dick the entire time. Oh yeah, and then this guy's gay.
Do not pass go with his fine ass.
He has a subplot about him and a football player, but it goes nowhere, so I'm not gonna mention it much. I will say he's the character I hate the least. His dialogue is not subtle and it feels kind of forced, but that's probably a problem with the script and I'd blame the writers on that one. Speaking of the writers, they seem extremely out of touch. I'm not gonna say that sexism doesn't exist, but they act like a girl hasn't been on the snare line before. But if we look back at the first one, we see, oh yeah, look, there is one. How about that? Not only this, but the movie keeps changing rules that were established in the first one just to manufacture fake conflict. Conflict that wouldn't be there if they just followed the rules from the first. But I'll get into that later. Now it's time to play catch up and hear about all the stuff that happened in between movies. Including, but not limited to, Sean getting a brother.
You got some big shoes to fill, man. A&T hasn't won a classic since what? Since Dr. Lee left to conduct the Chicago Philharmonic? That's 6 years ago.
I don't know why this guy's here right now, except for the obvious. But like, he could have just called. That seems a lot easier. And if we're to assume that this is happening at the same exact time the party is happening, which is at night, then A, why is Sean still unpacking? And B, how did his brother know he would be here this late? He probably should have just called. But no, he just shows up and argues with his brother about beef that happened in college that he clearly isn't over, even though he's a full-grown adult.
Loyalty. Were you feeling very loyal when you challenged me for section leader? Mr. Big Shot Jr. Just couldn't wait in line. Oh. Man, is that Nia? You know, Nia still look good. I divorced that woman 5 years ago and she still do something to me, man. Just...
Is it weird that Sean has a picture of Nia and her friends, but not a picture of Nia and himself? Seems weird.
What the? Welcome to Hell Week, crabs.
Now for the best scene in the movie. So much is wrong with this scene, it's honestly crazy.
As of right now, I'm known to you all as Big Brother Run Tell That.
Greetings, Big Brother Run Tell That.
You know why? Because when I play so good, it makes people want to what, Boston? Run Tell That. Run Tell That who? Run Tell That, Big Brother Run Tell That.
First of all, in a normal situation, Sean would have shown up way before the first day and would have actually taken the time to talk to his student leadership team, which consists of the drum majors and section leaders. The movie implies that Sean hasn't done anything as a band director yet, and that the leaders aren't even concerned with who their new band director is. There should be a very strong connection between the band director and the student leaders, but there isn't.
Section leaders, what is our concept?
One band, one sound.
I bring this up because had Sean shown up earlier than the first day, then maybe he could have been like, hey, you know that plan you guys had to haze everyone? How about we don't do that? And they would have been like, okay. And this scene would never exist. I swear half of the conflict in this movie just happens because Sean's not acting like a teacher. Another thing is, why is this happening now? In the first one, it happened in the morning when the party was over. But this is happening the same night as the party? Did they just say, alright, no more party, time to go haze you now? I'm pretty sure a lot of them would not put up with that.
Strap up. We about to have an old-fashioned drum off.
Alright, so let me just break down why this is so painful. So I'm guessing that is an exercise that they just both knew for some reason. Okay, but then how is that a drum battle? They played together, so how are we supposed to know which one played it better? Also, this just comes down to them not knowing how percussionists look when they play, but they move their arms. A lot. Not only that, but their bodies move too. You can't do this and expect me to suspend my disbelief that much. But wait, there's more.
Not bad. For crabs. So what's up? Danny the drummer?
Looks like my skills.
Oh my god. Like, why? First of all, look at everyone around them. They're just waiting there patiently while this exchange happens. It's so great, oh my god. And then you've got the best line in the entire movie.
My skills.
It's stuff like this that makes me think this movie is so bad it's kind of good. But then those scenes end and then I hate my life. One thing that this movie had trouble with that the first one really did well was making the world feel real. All the locations are the same, but they feel completely different. The way the first one does it is by hiring a lot of extras and making it feel like an actual college campus. One thing I don't understand is why the number of people in this group of freshmen keeps changing. In the last scene we saw at least 17 crabs who are percussionists. And in the very next scene, it's just the main characters. The fact that the rest of the band is standing in the back implies that they are addressing all freshmen. So where did these people go? This is where we really start to see the TV movie level of quality.
You're all wearing white. because right now, you are invisible. You're nothing. You have to earn your blue.
Also, this is a very self-sufficient student staff they have here. They haven't even spoken to the new band director, and they're already calling the shots and speaking to the band as if they're solely in charge.
Now, whose band is this? Your band! Whose band? Your band! Hoorah!
Oh, I beg to differ. Right now, this band belongs to no one.
It just seems really odd that they didn't have a scene where maybe Sean is talking to the drum majors and section leaders about how he plans to do things, and then one of them says, "Oh, we don't do things like that here," and then Sean says, "Well, you do now." I just have a hard time believing they didn't speak beforehand so they'd be on the same page. So now we get a montage of other people, not our main characters. Like, it shows this group of people doing push-ups, then a different group of people doing jumping jacks, and then our main characters doing this one thing. And that one thing is just copied from the first film. Then they play a little, there's some sexism, and then it cuts to them in their dorms complaining about how hard their day was. Like, really? Why not actually show the characters struggling to put in the hard work? That would make us care about them more, and they would have earned this moment of relief. When we look at the scene from the first film, which this one is trying to be, we can see the characters working hard in more than just one short clip. We even see Devin falling and getting back up. Some words of advice from Pixar: their #1 rule of storytelling is you admire characters for trying more than for their success.
Now you done messed up the cadence. Take it from the top.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, but what? What is that sound effect? Why is that there? It sounds like a person hitting a cymbal with a drumstick on a drum set, but why is it here? I'm so confused. Oh yeah, and did you forget this guy is sexist? Because if so, here's some more of that.
Yo, stop playing. Raymond, who told you you can play?
I was just
You play when we say you play. You got it?
Yo, Danny, fall back in line.
Anyway, so Danny's parents stop paying for her stuff, so she decides to find a job. She ends up going to talk to Dean Phillips, who knows her apparently. I promise you I did not skip over anything. This is the first interaction between these two characters. And the dean knows she's in marching band for some reason.
How's the band going? Easier than trying to find a job.
A scene of them meeting would have been nice, but no, we gotta make room for more scenes of chicks with sticks and partying and drunk famous dad embarrassing his son. So the dean hooks Danny up with a job, and hey, is that a drug deal?
That's all there is to it. Here comes the drug machine. Boop. All right, just high five and say drugs.
Drugs!
I forgot to mention him earlier, but this is Javen. He has a famous dad and he's kinda stuck up. He's also the love interest for Danny. He hasn't done anything particularly interesting up to this point, so that's why I forgot about him. So drug dealer Pretty Boy over here tries to woo Danny, but like any sane person, she's having none of it. At least at first.
You must hate that there's one girl who's not fallen under the Javen love here spell.
Really? I wonder what she's trying to prove.
She could ask the same thing.
Yeah, well, you heard me play. I ain't gotta prove nothing.
It's sort of similar to Devin's dynamic with his love interest in the first movie, except Devin comes across more charismatic, whereas Javen just kind of seems like an ass. I just don't think he's very likable.
I bet you can't say one real thing. Just one.
Okay, so what? You think you know me?
Boy, I know about 20 years.
Well, okay, Miss Raymond.
So now it's time to get ready for the auditions, and oh gosh. Okay, so we can assume they wanted us to think he was playing along to what he was listening to, but you can hear what he's actually playing. You can hear the actual hits the actor is making on the drum. Why did they leave that in?
Hey, sorry, I didn't hear you. Wow, you're here late.
Trying to be ready for tomorrow?
Guilty. That's why I've been practicing here each night. Why do you look shocked?
Come on, Jay, you know you got this.
Oh, why? Well, because of my pops? Listen, I got here because of my skills, not his connections. You know, people talk like they know about my life, but they don't. Bet they shut up if they knew the ugly-ass truth.
Okay, wow, dude, calm down. This is the same guy who 2 scenes ago said,
I ain't gotta prove nothing.
And the same guy who has been flirting with this girl non-stop. Like, I get why he's saying it, but I don't get why he's saying it to her. She clearly didn't mean to offend him, so why did he freak out? Was it so we could get this sorry attempt at character development? I think so.
I didn't mean...
No, you wanted me to tell you something real? Well, there you go. You can have a room.
My parents used to argue a lot when I was younger. I almost got a divorce once. So I used to spend a lot of time at Tyree's. And he had this drum set. And at first I was just messing around, but then it turned into something.
So I guess the next logical question is, why didn't we see any of this? They could have flashed back to her playing the drum set when she was younger, or even start the movie when she was a kid. You could have had a scene where someone comes up to her and says, you can't play the drums, you're a girl. So that can like motivate her and give her, I don't know, a goal. They spend no time at all showing us how she got to the level she's at now, so it feels like there's something missing. The first movie didn't do this either, however, they did show us Devin playing with his high school band, giving us a look at not only his influence on the people around him, but also how his love for music brought him to A&T. I think it would have been nice to see a younger Danny just starting out and learning how to play, and maybe see her with her high school drumline. It would have been nice. It's just a wasted opportunity, I get. Wait a minute. Danny went to a prep school, an all-female private school. Do those schools even have marching bands? Do they have football teams? I tried looking this up and I can't find anything. I'm not gonna say that this situation doesn't exist, but it just seems very unlikely that it would. Either she went to the only all-female private school in the nation that has both a football team and a marching band, or they're implying that she got as good as she is by playing on a drum set. Also not saying that this is an impossibility, but it's very unlikely. Rudimental snare drumming is a completely different skill set than playing on a drum set. I know people who can do one but have trouble with the other. They're not interchangeable. Just because you can play on the drums does not mean you can automatically play on a drum line. I suppose she could have played in a concert band in her high school, but my criticism still stands that we should have saw it or she should have mentioned it. I know I just went on a tangent over one line of dialogue, but it kind of breaks the movie for me. Alright, here we go, the auditions, baby, let's do this. So for some reason they changed pretty much everything that made sense about this process from the first film. I don't know why, but they did. Okay, so in the first you were to prepare and perform the required piece. A lot of colleges and any place where an audition is required do this because it's a good way for them to see your skill level. This makes sense. The judges are the director, co-director, and maybe the section leader. They are the ones that determine your position in the ensemble. Maybe have suggestions from upperclassmen to see what they think, because they're ultimately the ones who have to play with this person, possibly. But that's all they should be. A suggestion, not a determining factor. You can consider how they feel, but they're not supposed to make the decisions. They are not qualified in any sense. They are students. But in this movie, Sean's just like, yeah, the seniors decide your fate because who cares, am I right? And again, it's super unclear how many crabs there are. The number keeps changing and it never feels like the same amount of people every time. Plus, we never get to see any of them auditioning, so they're basically pointless. But at the same time, why are we wasting time seeing everyone else's auditions? Danny is the only one we really need to see, and I guess Javen's. But watching everyone's just makes it feel like we're wasting time. Also, the music. Please turn it off. It's just blaring in the background. It's so annoying. Another thing, why are they finding out immediately what spot they got? You don't want to think it over? Not even a little bit? Maybe take some time and actually think before you make these decisions. Maybe to, I don't know, prevent the upperclassmen from rigging the vote. They shouldn't even be allowed to make this decision, but whatever. Have you learned nothing, Sean?
Seniors?
What an asshole. Look, there's nothing wrong with being put in your place. Don't get me wrong, in this fake world where I'm supposed to believe they're actually playing the drums, she's very talented. What I'm saying is that both Danny and Javen are very full of themselves. They both deserve to be P2s for their first year to learn some respect.
Looks like my skills.
And it's not like P2 is a death sentence. In this movie, it means you're guaranteed a spot on the field. And you can challenge up. Just chill, it could be worse.
B3, B4, stick with it.
Alright, I know you're good. There's no doubt about that. But maybe you're just not ready for the Senate.
So I'll talk more about the Senate as it pertains to this movie in a later scene, but I wanted to ask, is this even a thing? I mean, it might be. I've never encountered anything like the Senate before seeing this movie. I don't know, but if you have, leave a comment below letting me know how that works. Anyway, so Danny's pissed she got P2. Oh no. When all of a sudden, this happens.
Can you hear it?
And when I saw that, I stopped the movie, turned off my computer, unplugged it, went outside, took a 2-year-long break from YouTube, and I'm still not over how stupid this is. I'm not even going to break down what's wrong with this scene. If you can't tell, then that's on you. Jeez, how far are we into this movie again? 27 minutes? Are you kidding me? And now it's time for a montage. I don't care how many montages you put in this thing, you'll never capture the magic of the first film. So since I've been spending a lot of time dissecting other scenes, I'll be skipping the ones with Sean and the Dean. You don't miss anything. They get together in the end, yay. Moving on, we meet up with our main love story, and yep, this background music is killing me.
Boy, please.
Please, what?
But yeah, they kiss.
Looks like things are getting too spicy for the pepper.
Anyway, it's game day, and I still don't understand if this is a radio station or a podcast. It has aspects of both, so I don't know. Then it's revealed that, oh no, they rigged the voting. I wonder how that could have happened.
And the Senate is tight as hell this year.
You can thank me for that, son.
Yo, what you did was dirty, yo.
Man, I ain't having no bitches on the line. I don't care who her cousin is. We ain't that desperate.
I hear you.
Bro.
So, like any rational person, Danny handles this situation in a calm and controlled manner. Just kidding, she messes up their performance, and it's all her fault. And yes, I'm skipping over the halftime performance because I've already covered a lot of the problems it suffers from, and I'd be repeating myself. Anyway, so we get a little reminder in case you forgot why Danny was pissed.
And I ain't having no bitches on the line. And I ain't having no bitches on the line.
Just wanted to point out that what Armandi says doesn't even make sense because he says,
and I ain't having no bitches on the line.
And despite Danny not being in the Senate, she's still on the Drumline. So is Tasha, by the way. Just a small thing I noticed. So I tried looking at this scene from Danny's point of view and understand what she was thinking, but nothing about what she does makes sense. The whole Senate thing is confusing as is, but this is my understanding of it. From this shot, we're given the information that they have 7 snare drummers. These 2 people are not snare drummers, you can tell by the type of sticks they use, and the black dot on the drum head. Okay, so 7 snare drummers and 5 of them are part of the Senate, I guess. But why? Why not just have it uniform and have all 7 of them in the same line? The only reason I can understand a drumline doing this is if they were splitting them up evenly or symmetrically. Like, since they have an odd number of snare drummers, then have only 3 of them in the Senate, the front line, move the person in the middle to the 50-yard line, keep Danny and the other guy where they are, and move 2 guys to the back where these people are. That would at least make it look better. But whatever, I can get past that. But then it looks like Danny and the other guy are going to move up and join the rest of the snares, but then this happens. Like, okay, she tried to get in between 2 other people, but the movie makes it seem like she wasn't supposed to be in that line at all, even though there was a clear spot open for her. Since there was a spot open for her, that means what she did looks like just an accident. Like if you were an audience member, you would think, oh, that person just went to the wrong spot. And that's essentially all she did. It's not like she was supposed to be the only snare drummer in the back, while the other guy leaves to join everybody else. But everyone treats it like that's what was supposed to happen. Okay, so even if that's what was supposed to happen, Danny's staying behind in the back row and the other guy joining the rest of the snares, then this whole Senate thing makes absolutely no sense. What is the point of having the Senate if it only excludes 1 person? Shouldn't the Senate be a small group that is obviously hard to be a part of? And shouldn't it be clear how many people can be / are a part of the Senate? Otherwise, it's a pointless inclusion made to make us feel sorry for Danny, even though she's still in the drum line and is still able to march with everybody. Going back to the first, this is supposed to be kind of like the first football game where Devin took Sean solo. So in that situation, Sean's ego got in the way of his judgment. He told Devin to take the solo, thinking,
He'll freeze up like any other freshman. His ass needs to be broke.
Devin then falls right into Sean's assumption of him at first. But then he's able to muster up the courage and take over Sean's solo, leaving him with the blame and the drum polishing duty. So these events unfold in a very clear way, and it shows that there are consequences for their actions. Dr. Lee was pissed at both of them, and he showed it, but he ultimately punished Sean because it's his section and his responsibility.
Do I look like I need you to explain anything to me right now?
He's the leader and shouldn't be risking their performance just to prove a point.
I don't know what the beef is between you, but you better grill it up and eat it. I want you to polish the drums tonight. And I better be able to see myself in the silver.
Go back to the second and we didn't get that at all. Sean didn't even respond much to what happened, and even though when you look at it, it wasn't a big deal, the movie obviously wanted to treat it like it was. No, his response seemed more aimed at what was happening here, not what happened on the field. He's not concerned that they deviated from what they had rehearsed, and no punishment was given.
Get your line together, Mr. Raymond. Or I'll do it for you.
Again, even if in actuality nothing outrageous happened, the movie clearly wanted it to feel like it was the end of the world. And honestly, the lack of punishment from Sean makes him look like a pushover, which, even if they were going for that, just seems wrong when we've already seen him as a strong leader way back when he was in college. He shouldn't have a hard time being hard on his students. From what we've seen of him, it's just not in his character. Anyway, Danny and her cousin are so mad at each other that they wait half a football game and an entire bus ride home to finish talking about what happened.
So you're gonna let them run you?
Look, this is my line, all right? I know we're family, so I'm gonna give it to you straight. You just messed up, D. Why don't you help unpack the drums, P2?
It's not like P2 is much of an insult. It's not like it's very different from P1 anymore.
P1, P2, you're guaranteed to march.
So now Javen's all like, that was hot. And she was all like, yeah? And he's all like, yeah. Something that keeps bothering me about Javen is that he acts like a stereotypical douchebag in one scene, then in the next he's just a normal guy, and then he goes back again. It's annoying, but what else is new? So these two are about to get their groove on, but then...
Dr. Taylor, you listen in the fifth quarter? Southern State is talking smack.
And then he just leaves? Okay, thought you had more to say, but whatever. So basically, Sean's brother is getting interviewed about their next performance, and this gets Sean all hot and bothered. Now I'm going to skip over most of this because a lot of it is just boring and not important. If you haven't noticed throughout the majority of this review, I'm mainly interested in changes that were made from the first film to the second that were only made so they could force this story to happen, like changes made to the audition process and the addition of the Senate. I will still cover parts of the story that have to do with Danny and Javen, as they are the main characters, and I already started talking about them, so I might as well see it out through the end. Everything else in this movie just isn't interesting to me. I don't care about the characters they've introduced, and the ones they brought back aren't interesting or in it enough to make me care about them. So here's what I'm skipping over. Watch the movie yourself if you want to see these things happen. I'm pretty sure the whole movie's still on YouTube for free. So Danny got a job through Dean Phillips because of reasons. I've talked before how we never see these two meet, and the movie really wants us to accept the fact that they're friends somehow. But so far, every scene with them together has had Danny asking her for something, and then the Dean being like, "Oh, of course I'll do that for you. We are friends after all." Me personally, I can say I have never met, nor will I probably ever meet, my dean of students at my college, so this is less believable than the movie trying to convince us they're actually drumming. But yeah, in this scene, Danny needs to vent about how that one sexist guy is super sexist, so Dean Phillips hears her out. Don't forget about this though, it'll be important later. Anyway, after some partying, the gang decides to go for a walk. Danny and Javen are walking separately from the rest of them, but they all decide to just stop at the exact same time. It's almost as if they were walking until they hit their mark and the director thought, it's fine, who cares?
Okay, but let me ask. Do you think she's got enough room for a guy who's kind of sexy?
And real cocky?
Saying this like you're not just as cocky. Okay, seriously. It is not articulated enough just how arrogant Danny is about her abilities. Yes, it covers it slightly, but I'm saying they could have done way more with that aspect of her personality. Oh, so they just stopped in this specific location so that this guy could recognize Javen and remind him that his dad is performing tonight.
I ain't know you was coming, man. Your pops is about to do a set.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I was just kicking it with some friends from school.
Huh. Pretty convenient that they'd be headed in the same direction as the club already, and that this guy would just be standing outside when they happen to be walking by. He works at the club. Why is he outside anyway? For a smoke break? First of all, this club would be pretty lame if you aren't allowed to smoke inside. It is a club after all. Second of all, he's smoking a blue e-cigarette, which is supposed to be less smelly and more like a vape than a real cigarette. So why wouldn't this guy who works at the place be able to smoke inside? And third of all, Javen's dad comes on stage smoking something, so people can smoke inside? Alright, then why is this guy here? Plot convenience? I think it's plot convenience. Okay, so I just rewatched the scene, and apparently, this guy they run into is named Rizzy.
Player?
Rizzy.
I ain't know you was coming, man.
And if you fast forward to when he's on stage, guess what the name of the club is? That's right, it's Rizzy's. He owns the club. Why is he outside smoking when he owns the club? He also seems to be quite far away from it. Why is he outside down the street smoking and not running his club? It makes it so much worse than I originally thought. Anyway, Rizzy invites them to see Javen's dad perform, and he's like, but everyone else is like, yeah, sure, why not? Then Javen's dad does this, and then shines a light on him, so that causes Javen to storm out of the club embarrassed. This leads to a very emotional scene between Danny and Javen, and guys, no lie, this is like one of the best scenes in the film. Like, up until now, the acting has been... But here, both actors are putting in pretty great performances, the standout being Jordan Calloway as Javen.
So you know what? Yeah. I do what I gotta do so I can make my own money.
Okay, but selling weed?
Yes! I'm screwed up, Danny. But I'm trying to fix it. Being here, earning my spot on the Senate. That was my escape from all of that.
I know I've been dogging on this movie for 3 videos now, but I also want to point out stuff I legitimately liked about the things I talk about. So good job, movie. You get a point. Your score just went from -1,000 to -999. Proud of you. So Danny's like, no, don't sell weed, you're so sexy, ahaha. And then they have sex. The next morning, Danny's dad calls to scold her about her late phone bill. She then lies about how well her audition went.
Yeah, tree shaking. You said you were shooing for something.
Yeah, the audition. I made P1.
I hope studying fits in there somewhere.
He seems quite disinterested either way, to be honest, so I don't know why she lied to him. Then he negs her about how there's still time to change schools, and then the scene just ends. Like, even the movie knows this subplot about her disapproving parents is uninteresting. So the band is getting ready for their next performance against their rival when Dean Phillips comes to give Sean some whispers. Turns out that Dean Phillips is once again lending Danny a hand and tells Sean about the rigging of the audition votes. So Sean gets pissed and reacts accordingly by making Danny play against Javen for his spot as P1. So, a couple things here. Dean Phillips chose possibly the worst time to bring this to Sean's attention. Like, we know they see each other when they're not teaching, and this really doesn't seem like the time or the place to be giving him this information. And since she brings him this information out of nowhere, he has to pull a classic Sean move and not think about his decisions for even a second and make Danny challenge Javen, essentially punishing him for no reason. When in actuality, what Sean should do is punish Armandi and those who went along with his schemes, but especially him. He rigged the panel to vote against a fellow student because he didn't want a woman in the Senate. Like, that seems like pretty good grounds for Sean to immediately demote him and maybe give Danny his spot, or at least a spot in the Senate. But no, classic not thinking about his own actions, Sean decides to go with the worst plan. And he justifies it by saying it's A&T tradition.
As is the rule, you challenge the last drummer placed on the line.
What? When was that established? Nice try, Sean. I think what he's trying to refer to is the parts in the first movie where they had time where people could challenge up in their section the night before their game. But in those situations, they were both supposed to perform a section of music and choreography that was in their show the next day. And whoever performed the best won the spot in the game. Not only do Javen and Danny not do choreography, but they play completely different music. So really, if Jaden didn't drop his stick... Oh my god, I said Jaden. That was the first. So really, if Jaden hadn't dropped his stick... Did I say Jaden again? Damn it. So really, if Javen... It's really hard to say. So really, if Javen didn't drop his stick, making it pretty clear who the winner was, then it would have been completely subjective as to who played better. That's why they have to play the same thing. That's why in the first film, when affirmative action is challenged, they play the same piece of music and they make it pretty clear why he lost. He was slower and sloppier than his opponent at the same section of music and choreo. He didn't just drop his stick. Yes, I am aware that in the second challenge later in the film, the other guy loses because he did in fact drop his stick. But what I'm saying is that even if he hadn't dropped his stick, there is still a basis to go off of when it came down to who performed better at the same segment of music. And maybe if the other guy hadn't dropped his stick, he would have won. We don't know, but it's a possibility. Here we don't have that possibility. The decision is made for Sean instead of Sean making the decision. So Javen, being caught off guard from this horrible decision, makes his one playing error in the entire film, and like we discussed, that makes it pretty easy for Danny to win. The writers want this conflict so badly, they are pulling every trick in their book to make sure Javen hates Danny after this.
At this time, Mr. LaPierre. Don't be discouraged. Take this moment. Learn from it.
Learn what, Sean? Learn how you're the worst teacher ever and how you basically caused all of this to happen by changing the audition process and by making rash decisions that negatively impact people who don't deserve it? Is that the lesson here? What happened to you, Sean? So, yeah, you guessed it. Javen is pissed and storms off.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that was gonna happen. I talked to Dean...
You knew what being P1 meant to me. But it's cool. Brand new Danny, right?
And then he goes off to be with this chick who was from the beginning of the movie. Literally couldn't have been bothered to hire another actress. I guess it's my fault for assuming more than 50 people went to this university.
Oh yeah, that's right. You wanted me to say something real, right? Well, this is me. Just like you're a daddy's little girl who had to run to the dean's office in order to get her way.
That's a pretty dumb way to look at this situation. She didn't go to the dean came to her. Plus, she told the dean what happened, but we don't know that she asked the dean to intervene. Javen probably doesn't know any of this, I know, but even still, how can you blame Danny for the challenge? This was 100% Sean's fault for not punishing the people at fault. Like, she didn't ask for the challenge, she didn't know any of that was gonna happen. He should be more upset with Armandi, but no, here they are hanging out like they're best friends.
Better bring it tomorrow. I'm trying to roll with Sonny.
So we've made it to the Southern State game, and like last time, I'm not going to be breaking down the halftime performances. I will say it's honestly annoying how much this movie takes from the original without understanding what made those moments so great. There are a couple of stolen elements in this scene, but I'll start with the dramatic conducting from Sean. This whole scene is supposed to echo the Morris Brown game and the Homecoming game from the original. They just combined the two because God forbid there be more marching band performances in this marching band film, and Sean's conducting is supposed to be like Dr. Lee's in the Homecoming scene. But if you remember why Dr. Lee was so intense and upset in that scene, it makes Sean's scene worse by comparison. So in the original, Dr. Lee had demoted Devin to P4 because he just discovered that he couldn't read music.
If you cannot read music, you cannot be on my field.
So Devin was now a P4 and he couldn't march anymore. I hate how that rhymes. This causes some problems between Dr. Lee and President Wagner, who believes Devin is essential to the band's success.
Dr. Lee, do you want to explain why Devin is not on the field?
Not really.
No, let me rephrase. I want my boy on the field now.
There are some issues preventing that.
No, the only issue is for you to give me the same show like you did the last game, or there won't be a program next year.
So President Wagner essentially forces Dr. Lee to put Devin back on the field to appease the alumni and to ensure that Wagner doesn't shut the program down if they're not successful. So throughout the whole Homecoming scene, Dr. Lee is conflicted because he compromised on his morals as a teacher by giving Devin special treatment, when his whole philosophy is
one band, one sound. One band, one sound.
And this is all conveyed through Orlando Jones's terrific performance. But if you jump to the second one, Sean's only motivation here is that he doesn't want to mess up in front of his brother. Huh. I mean, I guess you could say that since it's the first Homecoming game, he's a little nervous, but his face doesn't say nervous, it just looks angry or conflicted. But he has nothing to feel conflicted about. It's just what Dr. Lee felt in the first movie, so they had to put it in this. Side note, that guy who hosts some radio show / podcast from earlier that I was talking about, well, he's back and turns out he's an announcer for the band. It's weird that he's down on the field instead of in the box at the top of the bleachers. Like, why is there a mic connected to the sound system down here? I'm pretty sure no one does this, but okay. Also, is it just me, or is this guy more like a sports commentator than a band hype man? Like, he apparently announced for both bands, which is odd because bands usually have their own announcer that they bring in to introduce themselves.
Give it up for the unstoppable Southern State!
Like, it feels like he's supposed to remain unbiased since he is announcing for both bands. For instance, it would be okay if he was just A&T's announcer and was biased because he worked for them, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't work for them exclusively. And his preference flip-flops. He's not always hyping up A&T. If Southern State was doing better, he would be saying, Southern State just destroyed A&T. It's just odd because he sounds more like a sports announcer than a hype man for a marching band. Yes, the announcer from the original was biased, but like I said, they were A&T's personal announcer that they brought to each game to introduce the band. and the only real time he dogged on the opposing band was at the homecoming game during the Drumline battle. Speaking of which, this battle is hard to watch for a lot of reasons. Let's get some out of the way right now. Yes, it looks terrible. Yes, it sounds terrible. Alright, got it? Let's move on. Like I said, this is supposed to echo the homecoming Drumline battle in the first, but they also threw in the conflict that Dr. Lee had during that scene. It's weird, but I'll explain. So, A&T is leaving the field and Sean's brother's like,
But wait a minute, Southern State is not giving up that easy. Their Drumline is making a call to war. They want more.
and at first Sean is like, nah, I'm good. But then his brother eggs him on and causes Sean to be like, oh, what? Aw, hell no. And he says,
Sit it.
so they go, but Armandi is like,
Hell yeah, yo, Jay, you went for Danny.
What?
and Danny's cousin says, hey, this is my line, dude. But then Sean locks eyes with his brother and then tells Javen and Danny to go battle.
Lock here. Take the field. Miss Raymond battles too.
This whole Javen thing is supposed to be like the time Dr. Lee put Devin in the homecoming game, except, like I've said, it's not the same situation at all. Sean wasn't compromising his morals by putting Javen back in. Hell, he wasn't even fixing his mistake of punishing Javen instead of Armandi. He did this because he legitimately thought they would win if they had Javen on the field, showing that he learned nothing from Dr. Lee and the first film. Also, if you notice, the crowd is chanting Senate. And, funnily enough, I re-watched the first film and I did find Dr. Lee referencing something called the Senate to Sean.
But if you don't get it together, Mr. Taylor, you're gonna have a difficult time leading the Senate whether Devin is on it or not.
So, what does this all mean? Well, it probably means that the writers for Drumline 2 watched that scene, got the idea for the Senate, but forgot to make it make sense, and now they have to double down on it. In my last video, I talked about how the Senate doesn't make a lick of sense in the context of this film. My only guess is that it's supposed to be a nickname for the snare line, right? That would make sense, but then you had Danny in the first game who is still playing snare, and then Javen in this game who is also still playing snare, but they're not part of the Senate. I'm going to repeat myself from my last video and ask, what is the point of having the Senate if it only excludes at most one person? If you remember, in the first film they say that P1s are guaranteed a spot on the field for their chosen drum. That's why when Devin gets P1 he's still playing snare. But during training, Ernest and Deidre are both going for snare as well. But when they're auditioning, they've both switched to bass drum and toms respectively. My guess is that during training Sean moved some people around to fit better into other sections, and both of them didn't mind switching to different drums. But if we remember how P2s and P3s work, they probably would have been moved anyway because
Only P1s are guaranteed a spot on the field. Now, if you're P2 or P3, you can still get a spot in sections that are available. So do your best. I'll see you all on the other side.
I bring this up because Drumline 2 changed another rule, and it is the main reason why the Senate doesn't work. You see, if they had kept the rules from the first film, then Danny would have been put into a different section playing a different drum since she got P2. But they decided in this film to make the distinctions between rankings even more vague and pointless.
P1, P2, you're guaranteed to march.
Now there's practically no difference between P1 and P2, except that P1s are part of the Senate, and P2s are still on the drum line, but not part of the Senate. Okay. And P3s and P4s, I don't know what the hell is happening with them in this film.
P3, P4, stick with it.
Basically, they changed this rule so they could have Danny just playing snare and not have to deal with switching drums. But it makes the Senate not make sense because, well, I mean, I covered that. And don't even ask how the crowd knows what the Senate is. I have no clue why or how they would know. So now we're finally at the battle. I know I prefaced at the start of this part that it looked and sounded terrible, but I was only talking about A&T, because it seems like they actually got a real drumline to perform, and while it still sounds like it was recorded in a studio, they are actually playing, and it was refreshing to see that in this movie.
Are we watching this, ladies and gentlemen?
Again with this guy. Like, just let them play, dude. You're not supposed to be commentating during the performance. Again, he sounds like he's calling a sports game. Do I have to say it? Do I really have to say what this is supposed to be? What this is stolen from? Do I? Or do you understand what it's trying to be and why it's not as good? Can we move on? Thank you. So yeah, Danny drops her stick because of course she did. Then the announcer says,
"Oh no, she dropped the sticks, ladies and gentlemen. Automatic win for Southern State. Looks like A&T should have quit while they were ahead."
Like, alright. Listen, I can't say I know a whole lot about how drumline battles work at these schools because the school I went to, both high school and college, didn't really do this. In high school we had UIL competitions, but it wasn't really like competing against other schools. It was mainly for impressing the judges with our performance, so they would give us a good score so we could advance to the next stage in the competition. Like, I barely even got to see other schools perform because it was basically from the time we got there to our performance, we were just getting ready. And then after our performance, we would go take a group photo, which took forever, go back and change out of our uniforms. Some people would even stay on the bus until we left. I would go then get food, and the lines were really long, and by the time I got to sit down and see other bands, it was like the last 4 performing for the night, and then it was over. And in college, I didn't compete at all, except with an indoor percussion group, but that's a whole different thing. Anyway, I'm not gonna say, like, calm down, dude, it's just a competition, who cares who wins or loses, because I understand that some people do care about that stuff. I will say, however, it's kind of dumb that the whole thing would stop and the other drumline would automatically win if someone dropped their stick, because in the first film, Sean says,
"Bad word to fight for, youngins online, you drop your sticks, don't reach down and pick them up, just keep moving your hands."
So I don't know, I get, whoa, dude, calm down, whoa, bro, alright. Well, I guess this fight is different enough from the first one because it only involves their band and not the other band.
Man, some bands act straight ghetto.
Oh. Alright, that was pretty good. That was pretty good, movie. You get another point for that. So the director of the Southern Classic is threatening to change locations from A&T because of the fight, and Sean, in his infinite wisdom, decides to punish Danny and Javen and the entire band. Not Armandi, who insulted her pretty harshly, not Danny's cousin who threw the first punch, or this other guy who punched the Southern State guy, but Danny and Javen, the people who continued playing after the cadence had ended. A crime worse than murder, apparently. Like, okay, even if you think that Sean is justified in punishing Danny and Javen for what they did, you have to admit that it is absolutely ridiculous that he hasn't punished his upperclassmen at all for rigging the vote and starting the fight, and disrespecting Sean practically to his face, to his back, but to his face.
Dr. Taylor got the biggest ego out here. Shut up.
Like, Sean definitely heard that and he just does nothing. So Sean decides enough is enough and calls in the big guns. That's right, folks. Nick Cannon took time out of his busy schedule of recording episodes of Wild 'N Out to cameo in this for the rest of the movie. And I'm a little disappointed where his character went, to be honest. I don't know, I thought maybe he would be famous for something more percussion related, like having his own brand of sticks, or at least a sponsorship with Vic Firth and having his name on a pair of their sticks. That aside though, I think being a music producer still fits with his character enough to work, so I'm okay with it. Anyway, it's nice to see them interact again. Sean gets Devin to MC the classic, so that solves that problem pretty quickly. Then Sean says,
"I always dreamt of coming back here and leading this band. I was going to teach teamwork, squash egos, let them discover who they are, the power of what they could do. I don't even know if I should be here sometime."
And I'm like, yeah, dude, you seem to suck at disciplining your students. Maybe you shouldn't be a teacher? Think about that. The guy who punished his fellow classmates for taking a 15-minute break instead of a 5-minute break is having trouble years later as a teacher with punishing his students. Like, they annihilated Sean's character in this, and it's pretty sad. We meet back up with Danny and Javen, and really nothing new happens. This scene only exists to let us know that they're still mad at each other. Or I guess Javen is mad at Danny. Don't you just love when a song in the background of a movie tells you exactly how the characters feel in the most obvious way possible? I know I love it.
Yeah. We're done.
So Danny meets up with Tyree, her cousin I was too lazy to look up the name of until now, and they have a fight. Danny wants Tyree to help her to get back on the line, showing that she really is just as selfish and arrogant as people think she is. But then it's revealed that...
I don't care what Armani and them think they did. You didn't make P1 that night. The call was fair, and I know because it was mine.
So wait, what? Okay, first of all, he says that night and the auditions happened in the morning, ding. But secondly, how is that fair? It's still a conflict of interest. You're her cousin, and as much as you think you can put that aside, you clearly didn't. It played a part in your decision to give her P2. And third of all, why are students making these decisions, damn it? They are not qualified. And this straight up proves it. This system would never work in real life. They only changed the system so they could force this story to happen. I'm pissed. I'm pissed again. Damn it, Drumline 2. I'm sorry. Damn it, Drumline 2. Tyree does make a good point about Danny.
You don't get it. You don't just deserve to be out on that field. I mean, we all feel like we deserve it. But the difference is we ain't all used to getting everything handed to us.
Because she did in fact come from a rich family, so there is this aspect to her that feels like she should just get P1 because she gets a lot of things handed to her, and she disguises it as, oh, I just deserve it more, I just want it more. It kind of makes me hate her as the main character. It at least makes me unsympathetic to her because she has options available to her. She just wants A&T. And when you look back at Devin from the first film, he has this line.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I never even thought I'd be in college till Dr. Lee recruited me.
Because Devin legitimately came from nothing, and the fact that he was at college at all was an achievement. So that makes it, when he gets kicked out of the band, even more heartfelt because without that, he would have to leave school and not have any other options. Or at least not easily obtainable options, like Danny, who in the very next scene decides she doesn't belong at A&T and decides to go to Spelman, not only to make her parents happy, but also because she has that option. I just think they could have made Danny more sympathetic and all around a better main character than this. From here, it's just a race to the finish. Because now I've pretty much covered all the game-breaking elements of the film. Now it's just a bad TV movie. The next scene has Devin and Sean playing together, which is a nice sentiment. I enjoyed how much they acted like they were playing the drums. Danny's parents come to pick her up, and she has a sudden change of heart, which is like, yeah, duh. Of course she wasn't gonna leave like this. What are you, stupid? So her parents are oddly cool about it and say like, well, I gotta unpack the car, came all this way for nothing, I guess. Danny goes to join the rehearsal and makes up with Tyree pretty quickly, but someone's still being a grump over there. But I have a feeling he'll come around eventually. So now we get a montage with what is clearly recycled footage from earlier in the film when they were crabs. Why? It's so obvious if you've seen the movie as many times as I have, but I suppose to a normal person it's not an issue. I just thought I'd point it out because it's funny. So Sean decides to let Danny and Javen both march in the classic, but there was still a spot in the Senate left, whatever that means. Sean was gonna make them play for it, but then Danny says,
Javen can have the spot. He earned it fair and square. I know I'll get my shot.
This makes Javen go, damn, I guess I'm a piece of shit. There's a small scene of Javen smoking and drinking the night before the classic, and Danny gets after him because, you know, this isn't you, Jay. This isn't you. but then it just ends. Anyway, we finally made it. The Southern Jamboree Classic. It's not the BET Classic anymore. I guess people stopped caring as much. It was like that one time they aired DCI finals on ESPN3 and then never again. That was a reference for all you band people watching. I know you're there. So finally they confront Armandi for being the worst guy ever, but I gotta be honest, it was very unsatisfying. This guy has been shit the entire film and never gets punished by Sean or his section leader. Like, take him off the field, do something. He never learns his lesson. He just continues to be a piece of shit, but Danny sort of intimidates him, and then that's the end of it. Lame.
Man, get out of here with all that.
Then I guess it's squashed.
Eat sticks.
Also, come on, why'd you leave that in? That's like an outtake or a blooper, that doesn't belong in the final cut. But yeah, both main bands perform, and in a shocking turn of events, it doesn't end in a tie like the first one. I know, I was shocked too. However, since this movie likes to make up rules, the Southern State Drumline challenges A&T to a final drumline battle just because? Like, it's for bragging rights, I guess? I don't know. Since A&T already won, but it's always for bragging rights, basically, so... who cares? The first one ended in a drumline battle, so this one has to too. Anyway, Tyree says he has an idea, and, well, this was his idea. Yeah, so because they really want to hide people's faces, they decided to put everyone in masks and hoodies. And we actually get to see real percussionists perform, which is kind of cool. Also, look guys, they do the thing. You know, the thing? They do that. Then they take them off, and you're like, alright. They use their one trick to cover their faces, and now we have to watch the actors fake drum again. But then this happens.
Whoa, wait a minute. Ooh, the Panthers are on a proud tonight. Are you watching this, ladies and gentlemen?
Okay. Props to the movie for figuring out not just one way to hide the actors' faces, but two ways, instead of just working with the actors and filming them better. I have never seen something more productive and lazy at the same time than that. Wow. And then they're just declared the victors just like that. Like, everyone just knows that they won the battle despite the judges not saying, and the winner is A&T or something like that. Granted, they were already the winners of the classic, so I guess that's fine. And then it just ends. Thank God. So, what did we learn? Nothing. I don't know, the whole thing is a mess, and I do not recommend you watch this film. The original? Yeah, watch that every day, that movie is bomb. This though, nah. I think on its own, it's tolerable as a pretty bad TV movie, but as an extension of the first film, it just fails on every level. I do want to say that I don't blame anyone in the production for this film's problems. It's none of the actors' faults either. I do, however, blame the director, the writers, and VH1 for not putting the correct amount of time and effort into this project. It could have been so much better than this, and there really is no one else to blame. They're not bad people, obviously, they just should have tried harder than this. When they announced this movie was being made, I was genuinely excited because of my love for the original. That movie, flaws and all, is the reason I wanted to play on a drumline when I was a kid. It kick-started a love for the marching arts that has continued over 12 years now. I will always love Drumline 1 for igniting that passion in me. So do yourself a favor and watch that film. And watch Drumlines in real life. Whether it be some random high school or college line, or a DCI line, whatever. You might discover a hidden love for the activity. You never know. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for going on this journey with me. It took a long time to get here, I know. To anybody who watches this and gets a kick out of me slowly losing my mind breaking this movie down, thank you. I want to continue this channel and your views mean a lot to me. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.